This episode is brought to you by Cargo, a strategic marketing firm that we at Stone Mantle have partnered with for years. Cargo knows how to build meaningful brand experiences because they ask every prospect or client the same question. What if every customer brought you your next one? Let's face it, customers advocating for your brand, not you, is the only currency that matters now. It's the kind you earn by investing in moments that move people, experiences that hit deeper, stick longer, and spark something real. Because when something feels personal, when it truly resonates, people share it. And when they do, you don't just earn attention, you earn trust, traction, and impact that money alone could never buy. Cargo focuses on just that, inspiring advocacy, creating unforgettable brand moments that spark real connection, meaningful conversation, and loyalty that builds movements, not just market share. For a limited time and only for Experienced Strategy Podcast listeners, they're offering their proprietary advocacy readiness workshop for free to a few companies who are serious about getting every customer to bring you the next. Follow the link in the show notes to sign up and tell them that Dave, Aransas, and Joe sent you. Welcome to the Experience Strategy Podcast with Joe Pine, that guy who wrote The Experience Economy and lots of other bestsellers, Dave Norton, an experienced futurist and founder of Stone Mantle, and me, Aranza Savas, an expert in coaching, motivation, and behavior change. Each week, we bring you a trending story from the news and share our hot takes. But this week, we are taking a different route. We've all been out in the world a lot over the last couple of weeks, spending a lot of time with experienced strategists, some of it together, some of it in different places. And so think of this as your dispatch from the road today. The first thing I think we want to talk about is the Arival conference, because we all attended that. It is the leading travel experience conference each year. We were all honored to facilitate and provide some interactive talks and experiences during the conference, and to connect with lots of really smart and interesting folks while we were there. So we're going to talk about that. I think we'll talk about the collaborative, and then I never know where Joe is. So he may surprise me and tell me that he's been somewhere else, learning all sorts of big stuff that he's going to bring back to us. And I don't know, maybe I'll get frisky and start complaining about Subway ads for AI friends. Who knows what could happen
For the
today.
footlongs or what?
No, friend.com. Like, it's fascinating. Okay, we should talk about it. But let's start with the Arival conference. So I don't know. Did I do an okay job describing what Arival is?
Yeah, it's a great conference. It's a newer conference. They've been around for a few years now, and they focus on in-destination experiences. Great companies there. Expedia was there. There's
TripAdvisor, Viator, and then scores of individual small businesses and the tour guide and very entrepreneurial companies that are the operators, as they call them, of many different experiences that are then booked and connected by all the big companies that are there.
Right. And then tons of back end support.
Arrival with one R, just in case you want to look.
That's right.
Arrival
We'll put it
with-
in the show notes too. Okay, let's just start with the most surprising thing we heard, or our first key takeaway. I'm just going to start because I was there the shortest amount of time. The first thing that really jumped out to me that I've now repeated 85 times is the AI expert who quantified the search size for AI searches versus traditional searches like Google. And this was a number I hadn't heard. I've since gone and reconfirmed it because I'm that kind of girl. And really, I think it's so important for us to keep talking about and thinking about. And so we wanted to make sure you knew, which is that they're finding that AI searches are 5 times longer than traditional Google searches. So what you're getting there is much greater specificity. If in the past, the average search was 5 words per search, new searches are now
You mean
25.
the prompt for the search, to be clear, not
Correct.
the answer
Correct.
to the search.
Not the query itself.
Right.
Correct.
The
The
query,
prompt.
yes.
And so I've really been thinking about that, what that means in terms of how we share our stories. And I read today that somebody was asking folks how they're optimizing their Reddit profiles. I was like, oh, right, of course, because AI is calling in social proof over SEO. And I don't know about you, but I get Reddit results constantly now, which I was not getting constantly in traditional search. So I think that was a really eye-opening question and something I want to talk more about. All right. Dave, how about you? Key takeaway,
The
surprises?
flip side, well, there's a lot of interesting stuff that was discussed, but the flip side of that is that, correct me if I get this wrong, but the web crawlers for most of the AI tools are very, very limited, and they're going very, very slowly, and they're not covering, like, you think about Google, it's web crawlers out there all the time doing amazing calculations and so forth. What we heard from the same expert is it's the exact opposite. The crawlers are not very good.
You're familiar with have you ever seen the Google cars that drive around for Google Maps and give that, right? Occasionally you see them around. I did in Phoenix, I think it was, beginning of last week. And so Google search basically has a car. I'm making an analogy here, right? Web crawlers, right, is as if a Google car drove by your street every day, right? Whereas the AI ones are just like they're once in a while.
Yeah,
it's like your in-laws visiting.
Yeah,
Hope so.
Hopefully. Yeah.
So
I'm gonna tell Tina you said that.
You know what? None of our in-laws are listening to this. So then I think that's important to understand. And the outcome is the same for now. If we're going to be agile and responsive to what's happening in the world, instead of doing what I'm afraid so many companies are doing, which is holding on to, but this is what worked, and then wondering why nobody is showing up. I think it's important that we think about the impact of search in terms of getting folks to our experiences now, and the impact of people. Look, right, if search is an experience of sorts, it's a service that can be an experience ideally, and so optimizing that so that we can get people to our experiences seems important.
The other thing about it, of course, and I assume everybody here already knows this, but the fact of AI search means that they're actually, they're scraped your website and they're listing it on there, and the chances they then actually click onto your website goes way down.
Way down.
Okay, here's the thing, though.
Differently for this.
Here's something I think specific to experienced strategists that we should talk about. I think it tells us that because social proof is now what it's calling in these ever too infrequent drive-bys, it means that the importance of experience is actually higher than ever, because that's what people are going to talk about.
I'm not following.
Well,
say more.
Search now is more based on social proof. So it's pulling in things like a Reddit thread. The conversation is going to be triggered by an experience. So I think actually part of what we need to take from this is that the value of experiences to organizations is even higher.
I need a case example.
You're not following my leap? Okay. So what are we going to talk about online?
Experiences.
we're going to talk about experiences.
Yeah.
There has to be a high volume of conversation about your brand in order for it to get called in by these AI searches.
Mm. Okay. Yeah.
And
So
so
the word of mouth
increasing
that
volume of
follows
word of
experiences.
mouth is
Right.
and positive word of mouth, right? So when I
Mhm.
travel, I'll use this example, apt example for the trip or for the conference we were just at. When I took my last trip, I was like, I've shared before on the podcast, it was like a really like challenging time in our family's lives. And I did something I'd never done before, which is I tried to hire a guide to just take care of the trip because I just ran out of capacity. And so, of course, I did what people do now, which is I went on to Claude, my LLM of choice, LLM, where are the letters? My LLM of choice, and said, how does somebody find a guide to go on this trip? Well, interestingly, it pulled up, and I now know because I talked about this with some folks at Arival last week. It actually pulled up a relatively small company because
Mhm.
it had been featured in a number of blogs.
Mhm. Yeah.
And that's who I went with. I had an amazing experience. It was incredible. I'm so grateful because really I was getting something that was based in more social proof than if I had just Googled how to find a guide. I would have gotten one that had the most expensive SEO.
Oh.
Which also means that if you really, really love this guide and you really wanted to promote them, right, you
Mhm.
wouldn't leave a Yelp review. You go on
Go
your
in a Reddit
blog and
thread.
you talk about it.
Exactly.
Interesting.
Yep.
Interesting.
Got it. I see where you're going.
Yep.
It feels a little old school though, doesn't it?
It does. It's
And
word of
that
mouth
worries me.
again.
That worries you.
But that worries me because we just heard that Etsy is now going to have direct access through ChatGPT so that you can buy directly through ChatGPT um, anything on Etsy. Okay, so it's not going to be very long before the model, the profitability model for these LLMs is going to be to have the transactions, to have the content happen within their
Yep.
technology,
Yep.
and they will
Yep.
charge
Yep.
you for space. So
Yep.
I think right now we're
And for
an
transactions.
yeah, well, and to be the top in the queue, like the recommended uh,
Mm-hmm.
uh, response. I think they're going to figure it out. So
What about for ads? What about for
They're
I
going to
think
charge for ad
being
space.
listed
Yeah.
in searches, right?
Yep.
If Aransas guide there, pays them to be able, or some bigger company comes along and pays them to be in that search, it
Mm-hmm.
also ruins the social proof of the AI.
Exactly.
yeah, it does.
And it's
And
already struggling with credibility.
Right.
yeah,
So,
yeah.
so if there's one good thing to come out of it, right, is that if the answers are not based off ads, I'll be very happy.
Yeah. Same. But I
Well, I
think you're
think
right, Dave, that's unlikely.
I don't think it's going to be ads. I think it's going to be product placement.
Well,
I
same
think
thing.
it's the same thing,
It's
but
paid.
it's
It's paid search.
yeah. So you're still going to be found.
Mm-hmm.
The answer is going to be delivered in a very clever and crafty way,
Mm-hmm.
brought to you by Wendy's. Like it will. Like that's what
Yeah.
it's you're going to get.
Yeah.
So,
But right now, for this one
right now
little
they're not doing
moment,
it.
they
Right
haven't
now
yet. But
we
you're
have
right. They will.
virgin territory right now, and
Yep.
that's part of the reason why
It's a
it feels
bummer,
kind of old
too,
school.
especially if all these people go off and try to make
Yeah.
Reddit profiles to try to game that. A, it probably won't help them for very long. And B, um, how credible is this stuff if a bunch of uh,
Mhm.
if it ends up being a source of paid, really?
There was an article in the Wall Street Journal. Maybe you guys saw this. That there was a bunch of AI scientists that um, left OpenAI, Meta, Google, and went to a new startup. I'm going to blank on the name because I always blank on names. That just focuses on
Menopause.
scientific research, and so they're building an LLM that's just to rapidly test scientific ideas, because they're kind of they see, in part because they think that there's only so much that you can learn from these large language models that are just scraped from the internet, and in part because they're just like, it's commercialized. It's not the frontier anymore, which is fascinating. It's only been around for a year and a half, 2 years. I mean, it's
2.5.
yeah. Like it's fascinating to think about. But on a positive note, or on a related note, one of the things that I learned from the Arival conference, we've been hearing a lot about human connection as the antidote to AI hegemony. I like the word hegemony.
I know you do.
Yeah.
Now that I've looked it up, I do too.
Okay. But so I didn't know just how far this idea of human connection or connection type experiences had filtered into the zeitgeist, but everybody at Arival was talking about connection.
That was my one takeaway was from Monday's executive session, was everybody was talking about human connection. Absolutely. Mm-hmm. I was wondering if you seeded it, Dave, and I just missed it. But
no. I mean,
you know what else they were talking about though? Time well spent. But
yes,
they were so
seeded that.
That was exciting.
Yeah, we got a lot of feedback on that on LinkedIn and other places about the value of the time model and time well spent in particular.
Yeah, it was great.
So going back to this idea of connection for a second here, it'll be interesting to see what happens. At first, when I heard the way that a lot of the AI experts, not at the conference, but in articles that I was reading, talking about connection, it seemed like they were like, oh, but there'll still be room for you little human people to do something.
Right.
Like AI will do
if our AI overlords allow it.
Yeah, if our AI overlords will allow it, there'll still be, you'll still be able to make a peanut butter sandwich for your child, or something along that line. And that's not what I heard at Arival. What I heard at Arival was, hey, there's a real opportunity for a tour guide who knows how to connect with people to differentiate his or herself in the marketplace. And that was fun. It was fun to see it from that point of view rather than the overlord kind of.
Right.
I mean, it's interesting too, if I shift the lens slightly, because of course we're doing college tours right now. And I have had the same conversation at every tour with other parents, which is, wow, a good tour guide makes all the difference. And it really does. Because otherwise they all blend together. They all look the same. But what do you remember? Not that they all have the open curriculum and the this and the that and the historic building and the clubs. They all say the same thing. But the personality of that human guiding you through that experience, if they're energizing, you suddenly see it as a place that humans are, that you want to spend time and create a sense of belonging.
That's cool.
It is cool.
That's really cool. Yeah, we did talk about time well spent. And that we got some people that were like, man, I'd never heard that before. And it was interesting, Joe, because a lot of your followers were there. A lot of people who really respect the work that you've done.
Joe is an influencer.
At one of the
I'm blushing.
one person referred to him as the Godfather.
Yes, the intellectual Godfather.
The intellectual,
I feel like if we just call him the Godfather, then we conjure up images of him like, you consider my table. Which I like too, but in this case.
And
I'm going to make you an economic offering you can't refuse.
Exactly. I'm going to make you an economic offering that you can't refuse. Except you have to have like little patches on your elbows and
Right.
some big glasses while you say it. That's the answer.
right.
I feel like this is a whole archetype for you, Joe. I'm into it.
But
Anyway,
they weren't familiar with time well spent, which is interesting. So we haven't done a really good job of getting that message out. But the fact of the matter is that at the end of the day, you're either going to be time well saved, time well spent, or time well invested. And if your solution isn't going to do that, it may be relevant, it may be credible, it may be unique. It may be, there may be a lot of attributes associated with it. It won't last. It's not going to stick around for very long. And longevity is a really important thing to pay attention to. Now, I'm not saying that you can just come up with an approach for time well spent and never evolve it, change it, make it better. That's not what I'm saying. Once you've fixed for time well spent, you're good to go. I'm saying that a company that measures time well spent, thinks about time well spent, knows the difference between time well spent and convenience,
Uses it for decision making.
uses it for decision making. Over time, they will make better decisions, and they will be very, very successful.
Sounds like a core of what one might call experience strategy.
I've never heard of that. Well, maybe that's a good jumping off point then to talk about any key takeaways or big ahas from the collaboratives last week as well, because it was a very busy week.
Yeah. So it was the week before Arival, and this year our focus is on only the companies with a point of view survive, and it's kind of a play on the idea that AI is changing dramatically everything that's going on. So how are you going to approach AI?
So that's the stone mantle point of view, that only companies with the point of view will survive.
Exactly right.
That's right. That's exactly right.
Meta, man.
Yeah. And so what we did, of course, is we spent a lot of time using AI tools. And it was fascinating to see the participants in the collaboratives. They did this little exercise, and anybody can do this exercise. They went on ChatGPT or Claude, and they did a search against an experience strategy idea. Like, what are some of the jobs to be done for consumer goods? Just type that in. And then you get a response from that. And the response that you get is the exact same response that everybody else gets. No difference, really. Maybe a few minor modifications, but it's pulling from the same database. Then we trained the ChatGPT to use the Stone Mantle point of view on jobs to be done. So we have a point of view. We also think point of view is really important. We're very meta. And we trained it, and the answers were completely better. They're not just different; they were better. And our point was that companies, they don't necessarily always have to adopt the Stone Mantle point of view, but they have to have a point of view, or they're literally going to get the same answers. And I had the chance to go to the AI insight session that Arival had on, I think it was on Tuesday. And I watched these two teams build a tour within 1 hour, a tour guide product within 1 hour for Banff using AI tools. They had all the marketing, they had all of the, the sites, they had everything. And aside from, I'm being completely honest here, aside from the fact that they chose different animations for their logo, it was exactly the same.
Wow.
And think about that.
Wow.
Just think about that for a second.
That's fascinating.
Yeah. Sameness is going to be a real problem.
I have a word for that. Hegemony.
That's right.
So on
It's
that
coming.
note, we don't want every episode to sound the same. That's for sure. This was fun, guys. Let's keep going out in the world and learning some more, but really appreciate these opportunities to go and talk to more experienced strategists to spread the good word on things like time well spent and experience strategy, but also keep learning from others. So we'll look forward to seeing you all back here next week. If you don't know, we have a YouTube channel and we post all of these as videos on there. And we have a little game we call It Did Joe Change His Shirt from week to week. So you could watch and keep a tally, turn it into a drinking game if you wish, and let us know what you think. Otherwise, we'll see you over on Substack.
Sure. 90% of the time, Dave has a black shirt on. The one time he doesn't have a black shirt on, you pick on me.
You guys love it.